spoken to the camera in over a month. In this video, I'm going to explain to you where I've been, what happened, did I quit? We're going to address it all right here, as well as some exciting things coming up. So anyway, it's just really good to be talking to you again. I hope you're all doing well. A little bit of scary times out there with the virus and everything. Yeah, I feel a little nervous myself and have definitely been taking action to stay safe. I've been staying home a lot, which is something we'll talk about shortly. But I hope you are all doing well also. So I had anticipated to stay out on the road through the end of November. I talked about this before. That was my plan. However, there were about 3 factors that led to me actually coming to the property in Utah earlier than anticipated. Just as an overview, those 3 things are the rising cases of COVID, my own personal health concerns, as well as some projects and responsibilities that I had to the opportunity to jump in on here. So the bulk of it really is my personal health issues, and that's kind of what this video is going to be about, but it's also going to be about training and physical conditioning in sort of this little bit of off season. I think a lot of people consider this time of year off season. And so we're just going to talk about how we can work on that together. Before I jump into all that, I do want to acknowledge that I have quite a few new subscribers, and to those of you that are new, welcome. You may be a little confused about where I am. There is a property in Utah that I'm able to stay at periodically. I actually help manage this property. There are some ongoing projects and things like that that I facilitate. So yes, I did live on the road full time throughout the summer, and it was always my intention to winter here. And that's basically what I'm doing. The reason that I choose to live on the road in the summer is so that I have access to wild spaces, to hike, backpack, and so forth. That is my motive. This is not the time of year to do that in a lot of places. I know there are places such as Arizona that are really hospitable this time of year, but being here in Utah is what works for me, and I still have plenty of outdoor adventures coming up, and not too long from now I'm going to be hitting the road for a short period of time again. While I have some necessary travels to do, I'm going to also do some exploring during that time, so there will be some of that content to come as well, do not worry. So now I'm going to move on and talk about what happened. I don't know that I've ever publicly talked about this on YouTube before, but I actually suffer from an autoimmune disease called Hashimoto's. I was diagnosed with this autoimmune disease in the summer of 2018, shortly after returning home from a trip to Iceland. I thought I was just having a really unusually hard time struggling with jet lag, and I actually fainted and face planted into a wall. And then I was taken to the emergency room and told that my thyroid was not functioning. Part of my autoimmune disease is it attacks and disables your thyroid. So the thyroid is an organ in the body that produces hormones that control heart rate, blood pressure, and body temperature. Without a properly functioning thyroid, basically all the metabolic functions and all of the other things in your body just go completely out of whack. Fortunately, there is treatment for that. I am able to take a daily synthetic hormone that replaces what my thyroid can no longer produce. However, that does not treat the underlying condition, which is the autoimmune disease that caused the damage to my thyroid in the first place. In order to help manage the symptoms of my autoimmune disease, Hashimoto's, I have to make lifestyle decisions on a daily basis that minimize the effects of my autoimmune illness. Those lifestyle choices are things like a pretty strict diet and an exercise routine. If you've been following along with my road life journey, you know that I've discussed a couple of times with you that I was making efforts to correct my diet and also to get back on a regular exercise routine. And I did do that some, but road life is really has its challenges in that establishing a routine is extremely difficult. As much forethought and planning and so forth that you might put into your next move, what your agenda is, there are so many elemental factors that weigh into what it is that you're actually able to execute, that you're constantly having to adapt plans and routines and so forth. And so I'm not ashamed of how I managed it. I feel like I did the best that I could given the circumstances. I think it was a particularly hard year with closures due to the virus as well as the wildfires in the western United States. So all in, I think it was too little, too late. I was really run down. So some things came up here for me to be able to pitch in with, and projects started kicking up. And so I just came back, and by the time I got here, I was in pretty bad condition, and I didn't even really realize it, I think, until I got here. The first couple of weeks that I was here, it was it was rough. I slept a lot. I was in a lot of pain. So I guess I didn't mention this, but one of the symptoms of my autoimmune illness is that it causes chronic inflammation and fatigue. So the best way I can describe it to someone who has not had the pleasure of experiencing that's sarcasm, is that feeling when you're getting the flu and you have the whole body aches. It's basically like that all the time. So not fun. Very, very painful, actually. The good news is I'm feeling a lot better now. I took a step back from a lot of different projects. I made this my full-time priority, and I've seen a lot of progress with that. I was disappointed in myself to the extent that I allowed myself to backslide on my fitness, especially being out on the road, being out there with the intention of being on adventures full time. It's surprising to me that it happened, but it did. And I can't dwell on that. I've moved past that because sitting in that spot is just negative. I acknowledge where I am right now, and it's time to just take where I am and move forward from there and not think about what I could have done better, what I should have done better. I just have learned what I've learned, and I'm going to, apply that knowledge moving forward and take it from here. I did feel shame and guilt about backsliding. I'm going to be honest about that. And this is something that's hard for me to talk about. It's a weakness that's very emotional to me. And I am choosing to share it and try to view it from a more pragmatic standpoint, because I think that these kinds of challenges are very common. I should not judge myself so harshly when there are so many people out there that are in the same situation that I'm in. And I would never look at somebody and say, well, you should have handled it better, and say, okay, well, this is where we are. What are the steps we're going to take moving forward to make improvement? So I'm going to treat myself with that same amount of kindness. And I want to share this journey with my audience because I think we're a community of people that a lot of us have been in this situation or are in this situation. And my inspiration for sharing any of my story, any of my adventures on YouTube is always because I feel like I am such an ordinary person that if I can go out there and do these things, that I wholeheartedly believe that anyone else is also capable of doing it. I am not an all-star athlete. I do not have a childhood of experiences in scouting. I don't have a mentor. There's nobody that's taken my hand and shown me the way. I have fought through all of this on my own, and that's still where I am. And that leads me to believe that if I can do it, you can do it too. It's just a matter of putting in the work. As a viewer of online content, I would encourage you to keep in mind that a creator can make a trip look as easy or as difficult as they want to, regardless of how the actual experience is. I could very easily edit out or just choose not to film the parts where I'm struggling and make a difficult trip seem like it was easy for me. On the converse, if I wanted to make myself seem better than I am, I could take an easy trip and kind of fake a little bit of struggle and put that out there as well. Just keep in mind that what you see is not always the reality of things, but I do try to share a very real account of my journeys because I don't think that it's healthy to measure yourself by someone else's standards, but I realize that it is something that is naturally done. And so as somebody that puts my story out there, if that's something that tends to happen, I just want to keep it as real as possible. I would say right now I have about an average level of fitness. That does not mean I'm inadequate or incapable. That does not mean that I should allow myself to stop doing the things that I want to do. It just means that I have room for improvement. I have a growth mindset. So I am always going to acknowledge that there's room for me to grow. That also does not mean that I am not knowledgeable, that I am weak. You know, I'm actually pretty confident in what I know now, and now it's just getting the physical fitness to match my skill set. But it's a journey I don't want to go on alone. I recently read a book about grit. It's a very inspiring book that's based on psychological studies, and one of the things I learned is there's two types of grit. One type of grit is built from the inside out, and that's the kind that I worked on during the summer. I tackled adventurous trips on my own. I had to dig into new depths of myself to persevere, and I feel like I accomplished a lot in terms of that. On the other hand, the other kind of grit is built from the outside in. It's about surrounding yourself with a community of mentors, a team, just a community of people that can come together with their shared passion and perseverance and build a culture of grit. I want to build that community for us. Regardless of your current level, whether you're someone who's feeling at the top of your game, like come join us, help inspire others. Or maybe you're someone that just doesn't have any specific goals right now and just feels like you want to feel better, you want to be doing more, you want to, do better for yourself. Like, I hope that I can help build a community of people that can inspire you into action for that. In general, I want us to come together, and the best way I can think to do that was creating a Facebook group called Adventure Athletes, where we can support each other in our physical conditioning goals with the aim of outdoor recreation in mind. So, like I said, regardless of your level, it's a community where I just want us to have an environment where we can exchange ideas and encourage each other to have deliberate practice in order to see improvement and just kind of be there for each other. This is a season that a lot of people will view as their off season, and I'd like for us to be viewing it as a training season and just kind of have that place that we can go to remind ourselves of what's to come, because months go by pretty quickly usually. If it's not 2020 where I'm pretty sure about 64 months in the year. So, you'll be taking to the trails again before you know it. And this is kind of a way to make sure that you're in tip-top shape by the time you get there. I hope to see you all join. I'm going to leave a link for that group in the description of this video, and I'm kind of curious to see what happens and where we go from there. And I'm going to leave this open as a topic that I discuss from time to time here on my YouTube channel because it is very relevant to hiking. And it's something that I feel like maybe we don't talk about enough in the YouTube community. We just act like we should all be out there ready to go climb a mountain at any given time without putting in that back end effort. And I want to be able to address the fact that it requires effort on the training ground as well. So if you are here for adventure only content, then that is totally fine. There will be more of those videos to come pretty soon. Like I said, I'm going to be out there on the trail soon now that I'm feeling better, and I'll be hitting the road in not too long and creating some new content from there as well. So thank you so much for watching this. And again, link for the Facebook group is in the video description. I hope to see you over there. Take care. I'll see you soon. Bye.